For our next task, we'll talk about wound care for the animals. Before we actually get into the actual talk about wound care, I want to go through and show my mobile vet kit, so to speak. This item is a toolbox set that you can buy over at Home Depot. It has the wheels on it. That way you can wheel it around without having to carry it unless you're putting it up in the vehicle. Original kit comes as 3 boxes. I bought the 4th one to have some additional space to carry the various supplies for taking care of wounds. For wound care, I have a toolbox that I have set up to use for storing the different things needed for treating wounds, giving vaccinations, and otherwise taking care of the sheep. Up here in this top in the small compartments, I've got scalpels, stitching material, suture material. I have a couple of gaskets for the multi-dose vaccine applicator, along with drench guns. I have my couple of tools up here. One, the banding tool, the 2 blue tools there. I have a pair of bandage scissors for cutting through stuff, which helps also cutting through if you got a lot of wool that you need to get through. I have some tissue forceps and a little pair of scissors. Also, I have the bands for the banding tool. That way, if I'm docking or if I'm docking the tail or castrating by banding, I have those items available. That's the top of the fold out there. And the things I keep in the bottom, I have my All-Flex tagger, and I have a tag marker. That way, if I need to put in a blank tag to replace a ranch tag, I can write the information on it and put it in the ear. Also, I have a tag remover, so if the main part of the tag gets broken, but the stud going through the ear didn't come out, then I can remove it to replace it. I have here our Scrapies tag up on the top, which you'll notice has the U.S. unlawful to remove. It has my farm ID on it, along with a animal identification number. The other tags, and you see them there, they're separated just because I don't have a deal to keep them in. But it's the front and back for the ranch tags. And it just has our ranch name with an identification number. And here I have some blank tags. That way, if for some reason I got to replace a ranch tag, I can put the number on there and apply it back. If for some reason they lose a scrapie tag or break a scrapie tag, then in my records I'll notate what the old scrapie tag number was and put in a new scrapie tag and make sure that I annotate the change of scrapie identification. I have a multi-dose vaccine gun. For the number of sheep that we usually end up vaccinating, I tend not to use it just because I don't have that many going through at any given time. About the most we vaccinate at any given time is 10 animals. As we enlarge the operation, that'll probably change, and I'll be changing over to the multi-dose vaccine gun rather than using the smaller syringes. I have 2 drench guns here, and that's for giving worming medication or any other kind of liquid medication that you need to give orally. I do have a stethoscope on hand. That way, if I need to check gut sounds, lung sounds, I can listen and make sure that either they're normal, or if they're abnormal, then I can help figure out what's going on with the animal. This item here is for giving basically pills. Biggest thing I use them for is for if I have to treat anybody for internal parasites and I'm doing the worming. I only give once a year for sheep, but copper bolus, it looks like a big horse pill basically. But that's what you use to be able to get to the back of the throat, and then give that item so they have less chance to spit it out and not actually get it. I have a hoof pick here And I just use that for helping clean out the hooves as we're looking at them and trimming them. I have a pair of nippers for the ones that the actual hoof shears don't work on, either because it's super rolled over or the hoof's really hard. The nippers can get in there, as you can see with the handle, give you a little more leverage to be able to actually get cut through the thick, hard hoof wall. That is everything for the top box. For the second box in our kit, I have syringes of various sizes. I've got some that are only 3 milliliters. That way, if I'm just doing a single animal for vaccinations, I can just use one of those. If I'm doing multiples, ideally I like to use the 12, just because in it there's usually about 5 vaccinations worth of vaccine, and then I can take a break rather than keeping a bunch of them pre-filled on ice. That way the vaccine isn't as apt to go bad while I'm trying to vaccinate everybody. I have some 20s. Also, I have some 60s, which are in another compartment of the kit. The 20s and 60s I'll typically use if I have to clean out wounds. Just because you can draw up water and pressure from the syringe, kind of acts as like a little pressure washer without actually causing injury to them. So if you're trying to get a lot of debris and stuff out of a wound, that works well for doing some wound cleaning. I have 3 compartments of small, medium, and large gloves. That way I have some in the kit. I also have the rest of the gloves in a box that I have in a storage cabinet in the house. I have some alcohol pads. That way if I am doing vaccinations, drawing up antibiotics or whatever, I can clean the top of the bottle before I actually insert the needle. Then I have needles in here of varying sizes. 16 gauge I originally had because of horses, but I do keep them for miscellaneous necessities, especially if I'm draining out abscesses. That's great for making a puncture through the abscess and allow it to drain. 18 gauge for the sheep is for vaccinations generally is what I typically use. I also do have some 20 gauge. And there's my 20s. There's my 18s. I have another set of 18s here. And then my 16 gauge needles. And that is everything for the second box of the kit. Alright, so the third layer of the kit is a deep box, and it does have an insert tray for it. Pretty much in here I keep a lot of bulky bandages. So I have vet wrap in here. If anybody's ever tried to wrap a wound on an animal knows there's not a whole lot that sticks. The only way you can possibly get it to stay on there is using copious amounts of vet wrap. And even then it's still not a guarantee. Also have additional larger syringes in here. I have some betadine scrubs for cleaning out wounds. There's a package of 4x4 sponges, gauze sponges down there that I can use for cleaning out wounds. I do have some tape on there if I need it. I have a measuring cup hiding under the vet wrap. That way if I need to measure something out, I've got a measuring cup to do so. And then over here, I'll pull them out so you can see the stuff underneath. I have a box of OB gloves. That way if I have to assist in giving birth to a lamb, I have those on hand. They are gloves, and generally you'll find that they're larger than your hand and tend to slide off easily. And they should go up to your shoulder. That way it can help protect you. I have a lamb puller. That way, if for some reason it's a difficult birth, the lamb's presenting wrong, I can go in and get this around the lamb to help with pulling the lamb out. I have a couple of thermometers. in the kit. That way if I need to, I can take a rectal temp. I have some Neosporin and hydrocortisone cream. I don't use these as much on the wounds, but I do have it there just in case. The hydrocortisone comes in handy if for some reason they've gotten into ants or something that's causing them to break out. You can apply that locally, help stop the itch. And again, a couple of my 60 milliliter or cc syringes. And I also have some livestock markers. That way, if for some reason as you're working your animals and you come across one that you need to check over the next couple of days, you can take one of these, put a mark on them, and that way you know quickly by visual look which ones you need to bring back in to rework them. Okay, so the last box is a deep box. It's actually the deepest of all the boxes that come in the kit. And I generally use it to store all my bottles of liquid. Part of it's because it's the bottom one, and it's tall enough to hold most of them. The only thing it really doesn't hold is anything that comes in a gallon jug. So like my big container of lube for when I have to check on ewes that are having difficulty birthing, I have that kept in a separate spot, along with some propylene glycol, which is used for treating ketosis in pregnant ewes. Usually it's the ones that are within the last 30 days of their pregnancy. Those items I keep separate just because they don't fit in the box. Now going through everything that we have in the box, I have some Vetericin spray. It's good whenever you've cleaned out wounds to spray it on there, and it kind of helps promote the healing process. And I also have a pink eye spray because it's not always easy to get the drops in the eyes. Sometimes it's easier to spray them. I have some liquid vitamin B, which is used for when you have anemic sheep and goats. You can use this in a drench form to give it to them to help boost their system up. I have some injectable vitamin B, and that helps also with the anemia. Biggest thing is if you're treating anemia, you really want the thiamine, which is your B1. So whenever you're looking at your vitamins to find something that has B1. I have some red cell, which I had for the horses for anemia. You have to be careful using this with the sheep, as it does have some copper in it. I would only use it if you have a veterinarian that says to use it and gives you the dosage for them. I have some injectable iron, which if they're anemic, that helps with the anemia. I have some betadine surgical scrub used for cleaning wounds out. Copper tox, if you as you're treating their feet, trimming their feet, and you notice that they have an odor coming from the feet, you can help put this in there, and it'll help with eliminating some of the bacteria that could possibly be causing the foot rot or foot scald. I have some iodine, same thing. You can use it for cleaning out wounds. It just needs to be diluted down. I have a spray bottle that I have a mix of iodine and water. Generally, whenever I'm trimming hooves, if I manage to nick the pad just a little bit, I'll go ahead and spray them with that just to help clean out the wound. If I'm treating wounds and I'm wanting to keep the flies off of it, and to help keep it from getting sunburned, I'll put aloe shield on it. It'll look silver when you're done, and it gets everywhere. You may have to repeat that every couple of days. Another thing, if you're docking tails or you've got some wounds that you need to take care of, you can use pine tar to cover the wounds. I'm not as fond of it just because it's sticky and messy and gets everywhere. I have a small bottle of general lube. That way, if I'm just doing some general stuff, or if I'm doing fecal egg counts, I can take the fecal sample and not have to bring out my big bottle of lube. I've got my LA-200, which is a long-acting antibiotic. It does not need to be refrigerated. I have Corid, which is used for treating coccidiosis in the sheep and goats. It's mixed in with water. You can either be given as a drench or left in the water trough. There's different ratios for mixing depending on how you're using it. Then I have the 3 different classes of wormers. Cydectin, which contains the ingredient of moxidectin. And then valbazin, which has the active ingredient albendazole. And then prohibit, which has the active ingredient of levomenazole hydrochloride. The cydectin and the valbazin come in a liquid. Make sure you shake them well prior to drawing up any of the wormer to be given. Kind of got it here. If you look at the bottle, you might be able to see that it's kind of a clearish at the bottom. And if you look at the bottom, it looks white. That's because it's settled out, the main ingredients. So you need to shake it and turn it over so you can see. You'll see, I'll do it on the one that hasn't been shaken yet. You can see that the sediment in the bottom is from where the medication is separated out from the solution. You just got to shake it back up really well before giving it so that it gives it at the right dosing. I have here the CopperSure copper boluses. That way, if you're treating for worms on the sheep, I wouldn't give more than one a year. Hopefully you're not having a worm any more than that. But what it does is it has copper wire particles in it that slowly dissolve in the stomach. And that is what helps with knocking out the worms. I have selenium and vitamin E paste, vitamin B paste, probiotic paste, and electrolyte paste. So generally if I'm worming sheep, I'll give them their wormer. Then I'll go through and give them a dose of each of these to help boost their system up. Wormers are really hard and harsh on the rumen. And if they have been affected by the worms that much that they need to be wormed, their system's down, so it needs a little boost. And that's what the selenium, vitamin E, electrolytes, the vitamin B, and the probiotics do, is they give the system a boost after being wormed. That is something that wormers will kill out most of the gut flora, and giving them the probiotics helps kind of jumpstart that back so that you're not disturbing their digestive system for very long. And I have some bloat treatment back here. Be given as a drench. I have SWAT, which is kind of a cream paste that you can apply for fly control. So for the ones that I've docked or the ones that I've castrated from banding, I'll take some of this and apply, not directly on the wound, you don't want it in the wound, but around the area, and I'll reapply it it lasts about 2, maybe 3 days depending. But I'll reapply it to help keep the flies away so they don't get fly strike in the area that I've banded. And the other thing I have, just in case I haven't had any need for it yet, is screwworm spray. And the biggest thing with this is it kills flies and fly maggots on wounds. So if for some reason you've managed to get somebody that gets wounded and you didn't notice it immediately, you can get it cleaned out and then spray that on it to help get the rest of the maggots killed out.